Okay, so we have an instance, and this particular instance currently runs an Apache web server within a container. So if I open this, you can see that this particular URL gives this particular output. And this output is basically an Apache web server that's running in a container within this virtual machine. So what we'll do in this particular chapter is we'll update the command and the argument for this particular container. So to do that, you can click on this particular virtual machine and you can click on edit. And here under the advanced container option, you can see two arguments that will update. That is the command and the argument. So the command here represents the entry point for our container image. And here the command argument represents the argument for this particular command. So before we make any changes to this, let's look at the current command and the current argument for our existing image. Now to do that, we need to log into this virtual machine. So let's do that. Let's SSH into this particular machine. So what we need to do is we need to do a sudo su first. And then let's look at the container that's currently running. So to do that, let's do a docker container ls. And this is the container. So to know the current command and the current argument for the command, what you need to do is you can just do a docker container inspect and just give this container name. So if you scroll here, you can see the entry point here. So the entry point here is represented as null. However, in Docker, if the entry point is null, then it points to /bin/sh. So here the null, even though it's mentioned as null because the default is /bin/sh. So you can consider the entry point to be /bin/sh. And here the command represents the parameter for your entry point, which is basically this particular script. And whenever your container runs for the first time, this particular script is executed. So what we need to do in our chapter here is we need to update this particular command and this particular entry point. So what we'll do is we'll just run a basic echo command here. So the entry point that I will mention here would be /bin/echo, and the command here would be just a text. So whenever this particular container runs, after I restart that particular container, it should just echo whatever I have mentioned in my particular command. So let's do that. And let's go back to our virtual machine instance. Let's click on edit. So let's click on, and here the command that I'll be mentioning would be /bin/echo. And the argument here that I would be mentioning would be just a random text. Let's say hello world. And one important thing to remember is that after this particular script has run, that is echo hello world, I do not want to restart this particular container. So here the option that I will choose would be null. So the default option is always. So what would happen then is every time the container exits with this particular echo, it will again try to restart again and again. So I do not want that. I just want it to print it just once. So here I will mention the restart policy to never. So that's one important thing to remember, else your container will keep restarting again and again. So after this, what I'll do is I'll just click on save and restart. Okay, so my instance has started. So if I run this external IP, it will not run that particular web server. That's because the argument that I have mentioned is no longer the script which runs the Apache web server. So all that it should do right now is it should just print a hello world in the logs. So let's see if that has happened. So let's go back to our SSH and let's do a sudo su and let's do a docker container ls. And here you can see that this particular container just exited after it just printed the hello world. So you can see that its status is exited. So and this is the command that we had executed on startup, that is echo hello world. So let's see if this particular echo hello world is present in the log. So let's do a docker logs for this particular container. Let's copy this. and you can see a echo hello world. So it just printed this echo hello world, and then that particular container exited. Another thing to check is, now let's do a Docker container inspect, and let's print this particular container ID. And now let's look at what the entry point and the command is. So you can see here that the entry point has changed to /bin/echo, and the command has changed to hello world. So you can see that the command and the entry point has been overwritten. So that is how you can overwrite your existing or your default command and your entry point. So I hope this was a useful lecture. And before I end, I will also send you a link. And this particular link will show you the difference between command and entry point. Now, there's a lot of nuance involved in command and entry point, and it'll be difficult for me to explain all those intricacies with regards to command and entry point. So I'll just send you a link to this particular Stack Overflow, and you can just go through it and just check out all the differences. So I hope this was a useful lecture. I will see you in the next.